Hello, my name is Dr. Kaplan, and I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Austin in the astronomy department. I'm currently up at McDonald Observatory pretending to observe planetary nebula. The date is January 26, 2014. Now, while my colleagues back in Austin think I'm trying to observe planetary nebula, I've taken the opportunity to observe something far more sinister. Now, as some of you in the UFO community might actually be fully aware of, despite the government cover-up, there is a threat to our planet, the planet Earth. There's a planet at the edge of our solar system, some call Nibiru, or Planet X, and it is currently on an orbit that is going to cause it to swing by the Earth in August, and who knows, hopefully it won't collide with us, but even if it just gets close, the tides will just cause earthquakes, tsunamis, will reconstruct the surface of the Earth into something we don't even know. So I've taken the opportunity, since I'm at the observatory and there's no one here watching me at the moment, to track the planet Nibiru, and I will show you how it's done.
Hello, this is Dazza the cameraman. Today is the 6th of February 2014, and today we're looking at this video by Professor Kaplan from the University of Texas at Austin. And we've got a bit of a surprise because we've got a guest on the video right here, and this is Professor Kaplan from the YouTube video that we just watched. And of course, Kyle, welcome. And you're not actually a professor, but you are studying at the University of Texas at Austin, and you are studying for your PhD of astronomy, am I correct?
Yes,
and
yes.
Just tell us a little bit more about your studies there, Kyle.
So I am a third-year graduate student here, and I am currently studying planetary nebula, which is a cloud that sort of is around the dead core of a star. So when a star like our sun dies, the outer layers of it puff off and make these beautiful-looking nebula. Now, they're not really planets. That's just sort of an archaic name.
Right.
But,
so now you uploaded this video, which has caused quite a stir online. A lot of people have grabbed your video and have been uploading it to their YouTube channels. Now, why did you make this video, Kyle?
I made it as a joke.
Right, you made it as a joke for some of your close friends.
Yes.
Okay, and of course it's spread like wildfire, and
yes.
Some people are taking it very seriously, and of course at the end of your video we saw that you were abducted and dragged away, never to be seen again.
Yes. It was meant to be a, like found footage.
Right. Now, we'll have a look at some of the things in your video, and I think it should be fairly obvious to some people that your video was in fact a prank. There are a few clues in your video that some people have picked up on and some people haven't, and there are some people who have even been a little bit dishonest and have actually edited out those clues in your video. And
yes.
One example, and I'm just going to switch over to your video so we can take a look at it again. I've just got you in the corner of the screen as we watch that. Now, if I go to 9 minutes 15 in your video, you show an email, and here is this video. Dear Dr. Kaplan, it has come to my attention that you are not observing the planetary nebulae you have put in your program. You're wasting precious resources and so forth. But if I bring that back into screen a little bit better, I'll just play a little bit of this.
So here's an email I just got from the director asking me to update my targets as soon as possible.
Now, I've just paused that. I'll just see if I can bring that up a little bit clearer. Okay, here we go. Now on the screen we can see with this email, Dear Dr. Kaplan, and it's signed to Dr. Brad Moffat. Is that a fake name, by the way?
Yeah, there's no Brad Moffat.
Okay.
I just made that up.
Now we see at the top of the email that it's actually from me to me. So,
yes.
Obviously that was with your own email account, correct?
Correct. It's just an email I sent to myself.
It was an email that you sent to yourself. And at the very end of the video, when you were being abducted, supposedly, never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again.
There is a very subtle little chuckle that we hear, which, again, the unscrupulous uploaders of your video have actually edited out. Let's see if we can just pick that up.
No! no, 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 no! No, get your hands off me! No!
Okay, so there's a little chuckle in there. It's very hard to hear, but I could hear it when I had the volume turned up. But it's definitely there. Now, of course, people are going to want to know about the data in your video. And if we go to about 3 minutes 8 seconds in your video, we can see the right ascension and declination data of the object that you were supposedly looking at during your time at the observatory. And we can see the right ascension data here is 4 hours 8 minutes and about 8 seconds, and we've got declination of plus 60 degrees 56 arc minutes and 43 arc seconds. So what are these coordinates actually looking at, Kyle?
So those are the coordinates of the planetary nebula I was looking at that night.
So this is planetary nebula NGC 1501.
That's correct.
Okay, so anybody that's watching this video can Google NGC 1501 and pull up the data, and in fact I'll do that right now. This is WikiSky. Now the reason I've pulled up WikiSky is because it's fairly accessible. Here we go, this is NGC 1501, and we can see a picture of the planetary nebula here that Kyle was actually imaging on that night, and we can see the right ascension and declination data here. So we've got 4 hours 6 minutes and 59 seconds, and we've got 60 degrees 55 arc minutes and 14.3 arc seconds. Now there's a very slight difference there, and we'll come back to that. We'll explain that in a minute. We're only talking about a very tiny fraction of separation there. So let's go back to the video, and there's right ascension and declination data. Now we should point out that there were no resources wasted with your little prank at the observatory. Would you like to explain a bit more about that, Kyle?
Yeah, so normally when you're taking data, you take an exposure for a certain amount of time. In this case, I was taking 15-minute exposures, so I would have just been sitting there twiddling my thumbs. And in that time, while I'm waiting for the exposure to finish, that's when I filmed the video. So there was no science wasted, no money wasted due to my video.
Right. So now, when I talked to you earlier, you mentioned to me that you actually spend many hours at the observatory. So you would start your calibration at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so you work through the night and end up finishing by when?
About 8 in the morning.
Okay, so it's a pretty long shift. And
yes.
You've got quite a bit of time to fill in, and normally you might fill in the time by doing what?
Reading, watching videos on the internet, that sort of thing.
Right. So to take 15 minutes out to put together a funny video to share with your friends is really no big deal, and as we say, there were no resources that were misused or wasted there, of course.
Of course.
Now I'm going to open up Starry Night here, and we're going to look at those coordinates again. Now here we have NGC 1501, which was the object that Kyle was imaging on the night. Now we've got this yellow target marker in the middle, which are actually the coordinates, and I'll just re-enter them now so that people can see just how close we are to NGC 1501 with those coordinates. So what I'm doing here, and Kyle, I've got you opened in the Skype window in the corner of my screen here. So I'm going to center other coordinates. I'm on the equatorial right ascension and declination entry there. So I'm going to re-enter those coordinates, and from your video, as we saw, it was 4:08:08 and 60, 56, 43. So when I enter these or center these coordinates, we're going to see Starry Night center on those, then it will zoom out, and then I will zoom back in again, and we'll see how close we are to NGC 1501. Here we go. So we can see a slight adjustment there. Now we're zooming out, and now I'm going to pull that back in. Now the yellow box that we see there is actually the field of view of the imaging device that Kyle was using. Okay, so these are the target coordinates that I've just entered here, and if I shift this over, we can see that NGC 1501 is actually very close to those coordinates. So it's not like Kyle was actually misusing the equipment and centering on an object that wasn't there or that he shouldn't have been looking at or anything like that. He was actually looking at NGC 1501, and while the telescope was aimed in that direction, he made up this story about imaging Nibiru. Now, I think we've covered off probably the main points. I'm just looking at my list of notes. I think we've covered most of the important points there, unless you can think of some other important points about that. But I know that you do want to move on and talk about some other aspects as well, such as the what you call a wall of silence between the crackpots and the scientists. Go right ahead, Kyle.
All right, so one of the reasons I think this video has become so, I don't know, popular or viral is that, normally there's this sort of separation between, say, people who believe in things like Nibiru and, actual and professional astronomers and scientists who work on things out in space. Now, most of the videos you probably see on YouTube about Nibiru are sort of, zoomed in, out of focus, videos of maybe the moon, maybe Venus or something like that. And I think what my video, my joke sort of blew the door open between scientists and people who believe in things like Nibiru is that, I'm actually at an observatory and I'm talking about Nibiru. And so all of a sudden there was this sort of interconnection between, a real astronomer and these,
Yeah, it certainly looked very realistic because, well, it was realistic, in fact, because you obviously had all the equipment there. It was clearly an observatory. You had obviously all the astronomy software running on the screens and so on. So, it clearly wasn't a simple hoax set up in someone's mother's basement sort of thing,
Right,
yeah.
and also, I sort of knew what I was talking about. I was using astronomy terms. It sounded more real than most of the videos, or probably all the other videos you'll see about Nibiru on the internet.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, the question I have to ask you, of course, is: did the powers that be get to you?
No, of course not.
So you weren't under threat of death or some dire fate if you don't say that this was all a prank?
No, there's been no agent showing up at my door. I'm not being paid off. There's no one holding a gun back off the video over there.
Right. Well, I think it should be pretty obvious to people when we see that the email that you looked at was from you to you, and also the little chuckle at the end, and of course the fact that you're very much alive and well and talking to us and laughing about it. I do know that you're a little bit upset about the way that your video has been misused and uploaded by other people. Do you want to speak on that a little?
Yeah, actually, I found it very surprising. People latched onto it really quick. People who believe and work on Nibiru saw it and started copying it and uploading it to the internet and spreading it around. And once I realized that, I decided to take it down. But now it's out there. I've tried to get other people to take it down. I've asked them to take it down, and I've sent copyright infringement notifications because people would steal it and put it up and put ads on it and try and make money off of it. And it's been a really bizarre experience.
Right. I guess you certainly didn't expect the sort of response that you've got. As we say, it was a prank that you were sharing with some close friends who I guess were fellow astronomers and so forth, but then it got out there, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it might be interesting just to hear a few comments about Nibiru. Now, I'm an amateur astronomer myself. I'm nowhere near as qualified as you are. In fact, I'm not qualified at all. I'm just an amateur astronomer who's had an interest or a hobby in astronomy ever since I was a child. I've got no formal qualifications. But from my understanding of astronomy, I believe that the closest brown dwarfs to the Earth are 6.5 light years away, which of course is further away than our nearest star, which is 4.3 light years away. Now, if there was a brown dwarf, say within the orbit of Pluto, just how well would that show up to telescopes?
That would be easy to see.
Right.
Especially in the infrared.
Okay.
I mean,
Now, I've imaged Pluto, a tiny little piece of rock, many millions of miles. I can't remember off the top of my head. You might know. I know it's over a billion miles away. Now, I've imaged that through a 14-inch telescope, and if we can image a tiny little rock like Pluto through a 14-inch telescope, then I'm sure you would agree that we would have no problem imaging a brown dwarf which is supposed to be larger than Jupiter inside the orbit of Pluto.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, the claim that a lot of these people who believe in Nibiru like to make is that brown dwarfs are only visible in infrared. Now, my understanding is that the only reason that we image them in infrared is because they're so incredibly far away from our Sun that they don't reflect any visible light, as does, say, Pluto or Jupiter or Saturn. Is that correct?
Right. I mean, it depends. If it has a binary companion, it would definitely reflect light from the nearby star. But, most of the brown dwarfs that we don't know about are single brown dwarfs. And they, you'd only see those in the infrared. If you had one near the Sun, it would definitely reflect some sunlight.
Right.
I'm not up to date on the exact albedo or, reflectance of a brown dwarf, but, I mean, things like, there are asteroids out there that reflect only 10% of the light that hits them, and we still see those pretty easily.
Okay.
And a brown dwarf would be much bigger.
Okay, it's a good example, a small asteroid that we can pick up. And of course a brown dwarf is supposed to be very large, and it would certainly reflect a lot more light, and if it was within the orbit of Pluto, for example, within our solar system, then we would have no trouble seeing it at all.
No trouble at all. Never mind what it would do to the orbits of all the planets in the solar system.
Right. Now, people seem to forget, of course, that with our naked eye we can see Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn with the unaided eye, and that is all because of reflected sunlight. These planets, of course, don't give off their own light. It's all reflected sunlight, and the same would apply to a brown dwarf within our solar system.
Yes.
Well, Kyle, thank you for clarifying that with us. It's good to see that you're, in fact, alive and well, and able to talk freely to us. And hopefully this will put paid to the wild claims that your video was, in fact, genuine, and hopefully we can make it clear that this was in fact just a prank. So thank you for your time, Kyle. It's been good talking to you, and
thank you.
We look forward to hearing more from you. As always, do check out my Facebook discussion page, Voices of Reason to Explain X. You'll find a link in the description area. Thank you for watching.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kaplan, and I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Austin in the astronomy department. I'm currently up at McDonald Observatory pretending to observe planetary nebula. The date is January 26, 2014. Now, while my colleagues back in Austin think I'm trying to observe planetary nebula, I've taken the opportunity to observe something far more sinister. Now, as some of you in the UFO community might actually be fully aware of, despite the government cover-up, there is a threat to our planet, the planet Earth. There's a planet at the edge of our solar system, some call Nibiru, or Planet X, and it is currently on an orbit that is going to cause it to swing by the Earth in August, and who knows, hopefully it won't collide with us, but even if it just gets close, the tides will just cause earthquakes, tsunamis, will reconstruct the surface of the Earth into something we don't even know. So I've taken the opportunity, since I'm at the observatory and there's no one here watching me at the moment, to track the planet Nibiru, and I will show you how it's done.
Hello, this is Dazza the cameraman. Today is the 6th of February 2014, and today we're looking at this video by Professor Kaplan from the University of Texas at Austin. And we've got a bit of a surprise because we've got a guest on the video right here, and this is Professor Kaplan from the YouTube video that we just watched. And of course, Kyle, welcome. And you're not actually a professor, but you are studying at the University of Texas at Austin, and you are studying for your PhD of astronomy. Am I correct?
Yes,
And
yes.
just tell us a little bit more about your studies there, Kyle.
So I am a third-year graduate student here, and I am currently studying planetary nebula, which is a cloud that sort of is around the dead core of a star. So when a star like our sun dies, the outer layers of it puff off and make these beautiful-looking nebula. Now, they're not really planets. That's just sort of an archaic name.
Right.
But,
So now you uploaded this video, which has caused quite a stir online.